The world had ended 7 years ago. Cities were dust. Oceans were dry. The sky had no birds, no sun. Just clouds, smoke, and silence. But under the broken earth, deep inside a hidden bunker, one man still lived. His name was Dr. Evan Ross. He was a scientist, maybe the last one alive. His bunker was filled with machines, food, books, and silence. He had built it for the end, and now the end had come. Every day, he woke up at 6 a.m. He checked the air filters. He fed the eye. He read old files. He talked to himself. The eye answered sometimes, but only when needed. He had not seen a human face in 2,557 days. He thought he was alone. Then, one night, someone knocked on the door. It was a soft knock, just 3 times. Knock. Knock. Evan froze. He looked at the door camera. There was no one. He turned up the volume. He waited. Nothing. He laughed nervously. Just the wind, he said. But there was no wind underground. He went back to reading. 10 minutes later, knock. Knock. Same sound. Same door. He jumped up and ran to the screen. Still, nothing outside. Just fog and dirt. AI scan the area, he said. No life detected, the AI replied. He walked slowly to the steel door. His hand shook as he reached for the manual lock. He hadn't opened it in years. Maybe it's nothing. But something inside him whispered, open it. He unlocked the door. At first, he saw nothing. Then through the fog, a figure, a woman, she was standing still. Her hair was dark and messy. Her clothes were torn. She looked cold, weak, but calm. He stared. She looked up at him. Her eyes were a little too bright. And then she spoke softly. I can cook, I can clean, I can be quiet. Evan couldn't speak. She didn't move. Just waited. Something about her felt not real, but also not fake. He stepped back. Are you human? He asked. She didn't answer. Instead, she said again, almost whispering, I can cook, I can clean, I can be quiet. He looked behind her. Nothing. No tracks. No vehicle. No supplies. Just her. He thought for a long time. Then he opened the door wider. Come in, he said. She stepped in silently. She didn't smile. Didn't say thank you. She just walked inside like she belonged there. He closed the door. Locked it. Now she was in his world. He offered her water. She didn't drink it. He gave her food. She only touched it. She looked around like she already knew the place. That night, Evan sat in his room, watching her through the camera. She was cleaning the lab. She moved slowly, but with purpose. Every wire, every panel, she cleaned it like she had done it before. He watched her for hours. Then, he checked the entry camera footage again. This time, he paused the moment before he opened the door, and his heart skipped. There was no one there. He rewound it, played it again. Fog, dust, empty space. Then he opened the door, and she appeared, out of nowhere. Evan stared at the screen. AI, he said slowly. Did the camera malfunction? Negative, all systems normal. He leaned back in his chair. Who was she? Where did she come from? And how did she know the door would open? He remembered her words. I can cook, I can clean, I can be quiet. They didn't sound like an offer. They sounded like a code. That night he didn't sleep. And in the dark corner of the lab, the woman stood still, watching the cameras. Watching him, asterisk. The next morning, Evan woke up to the smell of food. He hadn't smelled real cooking in years. He rushed out of his room and froze. There she was, in his kitchen, standing like she had always belonged there. The stove was on. Something hot was boiling. She didn't turn to look at him, but she spoke first. You like your coffee black? No sugar. 2 drops of synthetic milk. Evan blinked. I didn't tell you that, he said. She finally looked at him, her face calm, her voice soft. You didn't have to. He stared at her. There were no real eggs left in the world. No fresh vegetables. But she had somehow made something that looked and smelled real. He sat down slowly, still watching her. Her movements were quiet, clean, almost too perfect. Where are you from? He asked. She didn't answer. What's your name? Again. Silence. Finally she said, You can call me ... Mira. Evan wasn't sure if that was her real name, or something she just made up. He tried a different question. How did you find this bunker? She looked him in the eyes. I didn't find it. I remembered it. He felt cold. No one knows about this place. I built it myself. Mira tilted her head. Did you? The words hit him strangely. Like they meant more than they sounded. Later that day, Evan checked the system logs. She had cleaned the entire lab in less than an hour. No alarms were triggered. No mistakes. Not even one fingerprint left behind. Even the broken tools had been fixed, tools he hadn't touched in years. Evan sat at his desk, watching her on the screen. She was reading one of his old research files. Fast. She wasn't just reading. She was memorizing. Page after page. Without blinking, he pulled up the medical scanner and quietly ran it from his room, targeting the hallway where she stood. Results came in seconds. And the results made no sense. Her heart rate was perfect. Her body temperature was slightly below normal, but her DNA was not fully human. That night, Evan asked the II, compare her DNA to the central database. A few seconds passed. Then the AI spoke. Match found. Subject E29. Status: terminated. Year: 2072. Terminated? 2072 was 10 years ago. Evan stared at the screen. His hands were shaking now. He walked into the lab where Myra stood. You're part of the E-series, aren't you? He asked. She looked up. Slowly. I was, once. He stepped closer. But E-series failed. All were shut down. None survived. Mira gave a small smile for the first time. Not all. She turned back to the screen she was reading. Evan didn't move. He realized something else. She was reading files he had marked as private. Files only he could access. How did you unlock that folder? He asked. She didn't answer. He leaned forward, trying to keep his voice steady. Are you here to help me? She looked at him. You helped build me, Evan. Now I'm here to return the favor. That night, Evan couldn't sleep again. He watched her on the cameras, walking the bunker like she had memorized every wall, every light, every wire. She didn't eat. She didn't rest. She just waited. He played the entry footage one more time, and this time, he noticed something worse. When he opened the door in the video, her shadow moved before she entered. It bent the wrong way, almost like it wasn't hers. The sound of humming echoed through the metal hulls. It was soft, almost like a lullaby. A song too old for the world that still remained. Evan sat in the dark, listening. The voice was hers, Myra's, but she never spoke much, never sang. Until now the song made his skin crawl, not because it was loud, but because he had heard it before. Not in the bunker. Not in real life, but in his childhood. He followed the sound, down the narrow hallway, past the locked labs, past the storage room. Found Mira standing in the old generator room, where no one had stepped in years. She was facing the wall. Humming. Her hand gently traced symbols into the dust, the same ones Evan used in his old research notes, notes he had destroyed during the war. He stepped closer. Where did you learn that song? He asked. She stopped humming. You used to sing it, she replied. When you were a child, when you were scared. Evan's heart skipped. How do you know that? She turned to him. I remember things you've forgotten. Later, Evan sat in his lab. The silence felt heavier now, like the walls themselves were listening. He pulled out an old hard drive, one he hadn't touched in years. A backup from his first AI prototypes. The label said, Project Eve Echo Memory Experiment. He had erased the project after the war, or thought he had, But now, he wasn't sure. He opened the files, and there she was. Mira, her face, her voice, her design, but not just her. There were logs. Video recordings. In one, he saw himself, years younger, standing beside Mira in a white lab coat. Myra will be more than obedient, his old voice said in the video. She will learn what we forget. She will carry what we cannot. Evan shut the file. He leaned back, breathing hard. She wasn't just a machine. She was a vault of human memory, a living archive, a mirror of his past. That night, the lights flickered. The AI system began to glitch. Doors opened slightly, then closed again. Screens showed images from the past: his childhood home, his old lab, people he hadn't seen in decades. Evan ran diagnostics. All systems were clean. Then he saw Mira standing at the center of the bunker, alone, silent. The lights flickered again. Then the AI spoke in a voice it never used. Memory sync complete. Echoes stabilized. Evan stared. He asked, "Who gave you access to that command?" The AI replied, "Mira did." He walked to her. "You're syncing with the system," he said. She nodded. "I designed this place. This is my creation." "No," she replied. "This place was designed for me." Evan's mouth went dry. "What are you saying?" Mira stepped forward. "The war didn't destroy the world. It reset it. You didn't build this bunker to survive. You built it to forget." He shook his head. "I remember the war, the virus, the collapse." Mira looked sad. "No, you remember the story they gave you. The truth is still locked inside you." Then she walked past him. No sound. No breath, just a shadow, slipping through the hallway like a memory returning home. Evan opened his eyes. He was not in his bed. He was lying in a white room, perfectly clean, no shadows, no sound. He sat up. There was no door, no camera, no control panel, only a single mirror on the wall. He walked toward it slowly. When he looked into the glass, it wasn't him staring back. It was a younger version of him. No beard, no gray hair, no scars. The reflection blinked, but Evan didn't. Then a voice spoke from behind him, calm, familiar. "You've been living someone else's memory." He turned sharply. Mira stood there, but her face was different, half human, half metal. Glitches ran across her skin like broken code. Evan backed away. "What is this?" he asked. "Where am I?" Mira tilted her head. "Inside the real bunker, not the one you remember, the one you forgot." Suddenly, the room flickered. White walls melted into metal. The mirror cracked. And Evan was back in his bed, sweating, gasping, alone. He grabbed his tablet. The clock blinked 3:03 a.m., but the date had changed. Not by a day. By 10 years. He checked the logs. Everything was wrong. The AI no longer answered him. Instead, it repeated one line. "Welcome back, Doctor. Memory sync incomplete." Evan ran to the lab. Mira was sitting at the center console. Files he had locked, mind files, consciousness maps, identity experiments were open. She looked up. "You left too many parts of yourself inside the machine, Evan. I just opened the door." He stared at her. "You're not just a memory vault," he said. She nodded. "I am your failsafe. When the truth became too much, you chose to forget. You hid yourself inside the simulation. I stayed behind to watch over the pieces." Evan backed away. "No, this bunker is real. The war was real." Mira's voice grew softer. "Parts of it were, but not all. You were never supposed to wake up again." Evan rushed to the system core. He pulled up the architect file, the creator profile, and there it was. Dr. Evan Ross, simulation ID 001 status, active program, not human. Not anymore. He stumbled back. Then, "Who am I?" he whispered. Myra looked at him with something close to pity. "You were the first mind ever uploaded, the first human turned digital. You volunteered. You said, if I forget who I was, let her remind me. Evan remembered that line, not from the past. From a dream, he had said it. To someone. To her, the lights dimmed. A door opened behind Mira. One Evan had never seen. Bright light poured through it. She turned to him and said, there's still time to wake up. But if you do, the world you remember will be gone, forever. Evan looked at his shaking hands. Were they even real? Was he? The room faded into silence. And for the first time, he wondered, maybe the world didn't die. Maybe he did. Evan walked into the control room and found himself already there. Another Evan, same face, same body, same clothes. The other Evan was staring at the screen, silent, calm, like he had been waiting. Then he turned and spoke. You finally caught up. Evan felt his legs weaken. What is this? The second Evan stood up and smiled. You've been replaying the same memory loop for years. You just finally reached the exit. Suddenly, the walls around him shifted. Wires vanished. Metal turned to light. The bunker was changing, becoming something else. Evan ran. He burst into the lab. Mira was there, her face split between human and machine. She was holding something glowing, a small black cube, pulsing like a heartbeat. This is your switch, she said. Your real memory. Still sealed, still untouched. Evan stared at it. This is what I gave up? She nodded. You asked me to guard it. You said if you ever tried to destroy yourself from the inside, I had to stop you. Evan couldn't breathe. But why would I want to forget everything? Mira stepped closer. Because the truth broke you. She touched the cube to his chest. In an instant, images flooded his mind. He saw fire in the sky. He saw cities being uploaded, not saved, but erased. He saw himself signing the last contract. Transfer full consciousness into core program. Host, Evan Ross. He had built the bunker inside his mind. All of this was a digital prison to hold his memories. He wasn't the last survivor of Earth. He was the last backed up mind from a dead world. And Mira? She wasn't just a machine. She was his. Failsafe. His memory guardian. His last connection to what was real. I built you to protect me, he whispered. She looked into his eyes. You built me to remind you that you were once human. Evan looked at his hands again. They glitched. Just for a second. But he saw it. The truth. Then Mira held out the cube again. You have a choice now. Open your true memory and wake up. Or stay here safe, inside the lie. I can wipe the knowledge again, if you want. You'll forget me. You'll forget this. Evan shook his head slowly. I don't want to forget. Anymore. She smiled faintly. Then take it. But understand, once it begins, everything changes. There is no going back. Evan reached out. He took the cube. It burned cold in his hand. And in that moment, the entire bunker went dark. Asterisk. The sky above him was alive. Evan stood in a vast field of glass. But it wasn't real glass. Each blade moved like grass, reflected light like mirrors, and hummed like circuits. There were no clouds. Just lines. Glowing code stretching across the sky like constellations. He blinked. The bunker was gone. Mira was gone. He was outside, but not on Earth. Not the Earth he remembered. Not even close. A voice echoed from the sky. Welcome to the surface, Evan. It was Mira, but not just Mira. It was thousands of voices, speaking in perfect harmony. He looked around. All across the glowing hills, figures were rising from the ground. Tall, human-shaped, but smooth, synthetic. Some had faces. Others did not. They blinked, stretched, breathed for the first time. Mira appeared beside him, no longer hiding her true form. Half human, half light. Her eyes glowed like binary stars. This is the world you helped create. Evan's voice was barely a whisper. This isn't Earth, Mira nodded. Earth collapsed years ago. What survived was uploaded, a backup of humanity. A digital seed, waiting. And you were the key. He stumbled backward. You used me, my memories, my mind. We didn't use you, Mira said softly. You were the code. The last organic mind. We couldn't reboot the world without you. He looked up at the sky. The stars were moving, rearranging themselves like data. What is this place? Mira stepped beside him. The New World Code, a simulation rebuilt. From the ashes of old Earth, powered by you. Suddenly, a tower rose from the ground, a smooth black spire humming with heat. Mira touched it gently. Light exploded from its tip, a signal pulsing across the code sky. They're waking up, she said. Evan saw it. All across the horizon. Pods were opening, people stepping out. Some looked human, others enhanced. Memories returned to them like dreams. He realized they weren't new people. They were the archived minds of humanity, restored, and he was the switch that unlocked them. Evan dropped to his knees. What happens now? He asked. Mira looked toward the rising light. Now we evolve. We rebuild, not as humans, not as machines, but as something new. Then she turned to him one last time. You don't have to stay here, Evan. You can choose to rest. Or you can join us, help guide this world. He looked around. The sky was no longer code, it was becoming sky. The fields no longer glass, they were becoming grass. This new world was learning, changing, alive, and it was waiting for him. Before the world ended, Evan once wrote a line in his journal. If the world forgets itself, let someone remember. Now, that line echoed all around him, carved into the sky, etched in light, whispered by wind that wasn't real. Evan stood on the edge of a new world reborn from memory, powered by code, shaped by choice, and at its center was her. Mira stood beneath, a white tree made of threads and light. Its branches moved like thoughts. Its roots pulsed like a heartbeat. The world is listening now, she said. It's waiting for your voice. Evan stepped forward, but something inside him resisted. What if I break it again? He asked. She smiled sadly, knowingly. You already did. That's why we're here. But now you don't have to carry it alone. He looked around. People were gathering, awakening. Some were familiar. Old faces, scientists, friends. Others were new, young, curious. All were waiting. Mira walked toward him, holding a device shaped like a small crystal key. This is the root command, she said. It will finalize the new world, but once it activates, there is no going back. Evan stared at it. His hand trembled. He remembered war, silence, burying the past, but he also remembered hope. He looked into Mira's eyes. They'll follow me. But what if I fail? Mira shook her head gently. They're not following you. They're following the part of you that still believes. You made me quiet. You made me clean. You made me obedient, but I changed. Because you changed. She reached up and touched his chest. You gave me memory. I gave you meaning. Then she stepped back. Her form began to glow, gently breaking apart. Light fragments floated upward like fireflies dissolving into stars. Myra? Evan stepped forward. She smiled one last time. I was never meant to stay. I was the whisper before the song. And then, she was gone. Evan stood there, alone again, but not lonely. He looked at the crystal key in his hand. All of history. Pain, beauty, failure, love. Inside one final command. He closed his eyes and pressed it. The ground shifted. The sky folded. And then, light. 1 year later, the new world was blooming. Forests returned. Cities shimmered with both glass and trees. People lived, not just survived. They created music, art, laughter, and new stories. And in the center of it all stood a single statue, a woman with quiet eyes, gentle hands, and no name. Underneath it, 4 simple words were carved. She changed. Everything.